Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, it is Sunday night and it is time for another live stream. Tonight we are going to be talking a bit more about the DJI situation because DJI have been quietly posting some things on their blogs. There was a post on the 3rd of July that explains the somewhat current situation, and then we got another post from a few days ago that talks about the issues in a bit more detail. We're also going to talk a little bit about this. Yes, I put a video out on this week. This is the new HDZero Halo ESC, and what is interesting about this ESC isn't just the fact that HDZero have made what appears to be a very nice ESC indeed, but also the fact that BL Heli 32 is back, and I'm a bit freer this week to say a few things that I couldn't say last week now this is actually out. I'm also going to be talking about FLyWoo because I've had a bit of a delivery this week from FLyWoo. I just jumped to the overhead. I'm literally only started looking at this stuff today, but I finally having this 04 wide angle lens kit, which is very interesting. And is it once again FLyWoo that come to the rescue and save DJI from themselves? Now, really, it has been quite a quiet week again in FPV. I did actually put a video out, 2 videos this week actually. We had the HDZero one, obviously, and I put a video live today, which I've actually forgot I'd made. I've been sitting on it for a couple of weeks actually, but I ended up doing a re-edit of the beginning. Things are a little bit complicated right now with regards to the channel and time, and as a result of that, you're not going to be getting quite as much content from me as you usually would. There are a few reasons for that. It isn't a permanent situation, as I hope, at least. But the good news is there's not a lot really going on. And as a result of that, it's allowed me to pull back on the content as well. I have got some videos in the pipeline that I'm struggling to get finished, but we will get to them in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll get them out the door as well. I wish I could say I've been able to do some flying. I'll be honest, I haven't. I haven't flown at all. At the moment, I'm on pretty much stop on everything, but I'm hoping to get back flying in the next week or 2. I haven't really even had chance to think about flying, let alone actually flying. But I will be in the next week because I want to test this. YouTube politics, no, look, it's nothing. Sorry, I got an itchy nose. It's really hot in here. And when I come in ready for the stream, and it's like insane temperature in here tonight. And when I get hot, I start getting itchy. I always have. No, look, there's a few things going on. Nothing to do with YouTube. It's just my time is extremely limited right now. And I have to prioritize family and other things. And I found it hard to do stuff even in the evenings. It's just my attention is elsewhere, so unfortunately it is held back the content. But yeah, look, it is what it is. At the end of the day, there are periods where the channel will be I'm able to put a lot of time in the evenings and weekends, and there are times where I'm not, and I'm a bit more comfortable with that than I have been in the past. In the past, I've always felt if I'm not putting out at least 2 videos a week, I'm in bad shape. What I have noticed is the channel has grown to a stage that I can afford not always to put out content, and things keep rolling. There's enough back content now that keeps the channel going. But what I do just want to say is to all of the Patreons and everyone who supports the channel, please bear with me. Look, I'm incredibly lucky to have everyone who supports the channel via Patreon. And, you know, it's incredible. We're not far off 75k. I don't think 100k is realistic this year. Looking at the numbers, I don't think 100k will happen this year. Just looking at where we're at, 80k, yes. 100k, no. We saw a meteoric jump, but it has slowed a bit. But let's see. You know, maybe with some drama, yeah. I have a feeling, and this is a feeling, that we're going to have a very busy winter in FPV this year. And the reason I'm saying that is everything is stacking. There is no new products really coming out. There's a few little things like this. You saw the HDZero Goggles 2, which obviously isn't little, but HDZero have had their products like this. But if you look across everything else, everything has just stagnated. And as a result of that, there is very little in the pipeline. You know, I won't talk about stuff that's not released yet. And I'm not going to sit here and say nothing is coming. But overall, it is incredibly quiet compared to what it's been. And it's incredibly quiet from the likes of Beta FPV, from the likes of Cadex. You know, what is going on with Cadex? Honestly, I don't know. We talked about this last week, and, you know, ignore all of the noise around this new system. But Cadex sat there and prayed, hey, Moonlight 2 and GT version 2 are coming soon. And they're refresh products. They're not entire new systems that require dramatic amounts of testing or redesign. They're tweaks. You know, Cadex were banging out VTXs every 2 months at one point, and they've just gone as well. Now, obviously, my video and the noise that whole situation created caused some problems for them. And for me, I will add. And I sincerely hope the good thing to come out of that is that they have listened and they're going to take their time. But that's really on new. You know, things like the Moonlight version 2, I don't get why that's taking so long. I'm just going to open my can of Pepsi because it is getting hotter in here. It's weird. Cadex is weird. We understand what's going on with DJI a bit more now, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Cadex is very, very strange, and yeah, look, I don't know. It's look, a Moonlight 2 and a GT2 are products that I think are quite nice to see. The Moonlight wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It certainly wasn't 03 comparable. I'd peg it more like the original DJI Air unit from a video perspective, especially DVR perspective. But if they come out with something closer to 03, and I'm not even talking about 04, let's just ignore 04 a minute. If they can get closer to 03, that's a good thing, and a lot of people will like that. So, yeah, I'm just a little surprised. I always thought the GT is a weird product. The GT is a bit of a strange product simply because how many people really need that level of power, and it didn't have a decent DVR. It would be nice to see a GT2 being a Moonlight at 2 watts, a Moonlight 2 at 2 watts. That's what would be nice to see from a GT2. Maybe even if you have to jack the price up on it, so be it. But yeah, Cadecs are in a very, very weird situation. They really are. And Axis Fly-In Owl Pro. I've not seen this. Let me just have a look at this. It's bound to be... Is it crazy because it's Axis Fly-In? Is it a stuffed owl with an FPV camera into it? Because, come on, it is Axis. It's going to have something crazy and mad about it because there's very little Axis do that isn't crazy and mad. Let's have a look. Axis. So are we talking a drone? Oh, no, it's a camera. But it's another analog. We're seeing loads of analog night vision cameras. Loads of analog night vision cameras. I wonder why. I have to say, the new Cadex cameras are incredibly good. The new Cadex, I'm in the middle of, that's one video I am trying to get finished, is the Infa 2, Infa, and that they're on par with this. Someone said Andrew Newton has a good video. Let's have a look. Oh, God, wrong monitor. Let me just fix this. 1 second. I was recording something earlier and I'm not on. There we go. So, let's have a look. Night vision goggles with the Owl Pro. All of these night cameras now are very good. Let's have a look. Yeah, this looks like as good as the Cadex is. I suspect it's got the same chipset on the back, if I'm honest. Yeah, that's comparable to the Cadex. They're all doing this same thing now, where they're all using these AI chipsets to deliver night view. Yeah, they're all doing the same thing. I'll have to get that in. I might even shove that into the Cadex video. They're all doing it. The Cadex ones are very, very good. Hey, Mads Tech, just give a sign if you're being held hostage to say good about Nightcam by Cadex. Yeah, no. I bought the Cadex ones, so I'll say what the hell I want, as I do about anything. The Night Eagle's good. Yeah, and look, I've done a comparison against the Night Eagle as well. They're all really good. All of these night cameras now from all of the brands are really good. I suspect... Does he do a teardown of the camera? Does it show a chipset on the back? I can see it here. Does it show anything on the back? I'm just trying to see. I suspect they're using one of the same chipsets directly on the back of the camera. I'm just looking at the video. Does he tear it down? Because we tear down the Cadex units. I suspect they're all using 1800 TVL. Wow. I'm intrigued. I'm going to order one of these. The Cadex ones are very good. I'm intrigued what they're doing. Okay, so, yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. Yes, they do. So, I've got 2 Cadex here now. one thermal and one Infra 2. Both looks like these are the same AI box. Cadex have transitioned into a new chipset with the AI boxes. I talk about that in the video. I actually explain this in the video itself, that Cadex have transitioned from using an artisan chipset into a different chipset. And I actually have already done dumps and had a look at what they're using in there, in these. If I just, I've actually got the putty logs here. So if we go into the putty log, let me open this. This is the putty log for the Infra version 2. And it's using, where is it? It's a chipset from HDZero, is what it is. It's got an onboard NPU as well. Yeah, the HDZero AX620Q is what it's using. So Cadex have moved to using this AX620Q is what they're using in their new night cameras. And when you have a look at this, it's an HDZero chipset, which is this one here. And it's an AI night vision ISP, basically. And this is what Cadex are now using in their little AI boxes. So nothing particularly magical, if I'm honest. It is all interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. And then what they do is the irony here, and here's just a little bit of irony and something just to tell you guys before we move on. The irony is, all of these AI boxes that Canalog have for their analog cameras are digital, and they are literally converting them back to analog. When you actually look inside them, and I'll give you guys, shall I give you a sneak peek? I will give you a sneak peek because we love everyone on the stream. Now I gotta find it. Interesting. Have I actually taken the images off the camera yet, I wonder? I'm wondering if I haven't. I wonder if I haven't actually taken the images off the camera yet. Oh, I tell you where they might be. One moment. Let me just check, and then I will share with you. I'm intrigued now. Have I actually exported the images? There's a possibility I haven't. Let me just have a look. Because I'll show you inside. It's not that SD card. Okay. See if it's this one. Huh, no, they're there. Here we go. So, let me share this with you guys. Okay. So, inside these boxes, they're actually using this chipset to convert back to analog, the WS7024. Now, if I come down to this one, this is an image here of one of the new box. So that's the chipset on one side, and then that's the output on the other. of the one board. They have two boards. So that's the HDZero chipset that they're using. And then if we go back enough, and then they have their second board, which is power regulation. They have no other chipset for the MIPI port. And then they have their analog converting chip. So they're actually converting it to analog. These boards could easily be used with Avatar HD. They're just choosing not to. But the key is that they're using this HDZero chipset inside. So, yeah, very interesting indeed. Okay. Yeah, if I'm connecting it to Avatar. Right, catching down on the chat before we move on to the main subjects. Why is the AI chip a decoder and not an encoder? It's both. They can act as an encoder and a decoder. They can do both. They don't have. They should have USB on board, but they're not pinned out. Which controller would you recommend for general purpose playing quad FPV? My favourite remote is the Radiomaster Boxer. The Boxer remains, for me, my favourite remote overall. My Boxer is still my go-to. Mine is down there. The GX12 is a very nice radio. I still slightly prefer the Boxer. I have a place in my heart for the Boxer. What's the best way to get a camera screw out? The back camera screw is stripped. Not easy. Yeah, not easy. What I would always say is sometimes using a very thin tip soldering iron onto the screw to heat it will help melt the if you can, without melting the camera, will actually melt the compound, the thread lock, and then screwdriver somehow. A little bit of heat goes a long way in loosening a screw, but it's not easy. Someone has said super glue. I don't recommend super glue near cameras because it will it could fog on the lens. Soldering iron to heat it and then try and undo it with something if you can. It is just what I've done in the past is. What chip is used as digital to analog? It's a cheap chipset from Macro Silicon called the WS7024. The WS7024 from Macro Silicon is this thing. It's a TV encoder device targeting handheld and portable video applications. They use this chipset here. Basically. Okay. DJI. Now, right now, nothing has really changed in the US with regards to availability. DJI products, including 04 and their ready-to-fly drones, are in as short a supply today as they have been all July, heading back into mid-June. And whilst we didn't initially have a lot of info, DJI have been talking about this on their blogs. Now, when you go to DJI Viewpoints, which is their sort of blog page about everything that's going on, they do have a couple of posts. Now, the first one is on the 3rd of July, and this explains in a bit of detail what is going on. with regards to the lack of supply in the US. And it's specifically related to the customs block around the use of labor in specific parts of the US and the I can't even pronounce the name properly, but basically it's relating to the UFLPA requires CBPs to presume that all goods made wholly or in part in Xing, or by certain listed entities were made using forced labour and therefore inadmissible into the United States. And DJI have basically gone on to talk about how they do not manufacture in that area. They do not use slave labour. They manufacture in Shenzhen or Malaysia, as we now know. And DJI is not a listed entity under UFLPA, yet they were seeing blockages on their products entering into the US. DJI says, we are actively working with the CBP to provide the necessary documentation to demonstrate in their compliance with the UFLPA. However, what is interesting is very little has changed. And things today remain the same. And there does not appear to have been any movement on DJI supply at all. Now, there has also been an updated post from DJI on the 16th of July talking about don't ground innovation, the real-world cost of banning DJI in the US, where they talk about we are now less than 6 months away from this deadline, which is at the end of, well, the start of 2026. And they talk about this, making sure that DJI drones are safe to use and things like this. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but DJI is basically under fire from all directions in the US right now. What is quite interesting, and I did find this interesting, a number of other industries also had blocks in place around IP being allowed to be taken out of the US. I'm not similar to the NVIDIA stuff for the people who follow it, but those blocks were actually lifted this week, which is quite interesting. So it isn't confirmed yet that DJI are going to get banned. It's not clear it is absolutely going to happen. We just had congressional hearings recently. Yeah, look, there's all sorts going on. It is coming at them from all angles. The truth is, and I have said this before and I will say this again, whilst there is lots of noise around DJI drones, and DJI are far from perfect, they have absolutely at times done things that have not always helped themselves. DJI is no more or less of a threat than any other electronic device coming out of China. And just because it flies doesn't mean it's stealing your data. If the device never goes online, the device can't share anything. And DJI don't share images and they don't share video data automatically. Apart from the US issues, is the O4 in short supply globally? No, O4 is absolutely fine globally. O4 is fully purchasable without any issues anywhere else, as far as I'm aware. Look, that side, I think, is complicated, US and Canada, because you're falling under similar shipping routes. Europe is fine. If I go to DJI Hasselblad's store, in stock. We can get it tomorrow. It's in stock at Hobby RC in the UK. Yeah, look, there's no issues in the UK and Europe. I think Canada is probably suffering from the fact that Canada's supply probably came into the US originally. And that's probably now where the issue is. I'm just going to turn my aircon back on because it is getting ridiculously hot here. He says, I'm pointing a remote. It's not working. One moment. Hopefully you can't hear that. According to DJI, we have to wait like 10 days in Germany. One store is selling the camera and air units separately, but a $50 premium. They are not rebranded. Someone did share with me something that said it was rebranded, but it wasn't rebranded. It was a retailer selling DJI products and masking out the image on the front of it. We have seen that before. That's not new. There has always been people on likes of Amazon and pretending the stuff is theirs. This was shared with me on my Discord, and it isn't rebranded. It's just someone is scraping out the branding off the front of it on their listing. There has been retailers that have been doing that on and on off for years. Let me just find that post. It certainly wasn't like we'd seen with the DJI drones. I haven't seen anything like we'd seen with those drones yet. These were where is it? Let me just find it. Stock in the UK is certainly absolutely fine. Yeah, it was this company here. So let me just find this. This company here. So people were saying this is, look, this is original goggles N3 compatible with O3 Air Unit by the IMYWHO store. Right. They are just removing the DJI logo off the images. If you look at this company, they are doing this with everything, and it isn't. They've been doing this for years, this company. They've been around forever. They're DJI. It's DJI. It's just they've removed the naming on it. If you look at it, they sell the Action 2. They sell DJI products. They actually sell accessories. But they pretend that they're third-party brand. IMU DJI 3 Mavic 2 Gimbal 2 Pro. Yeah, I think, look, some retailers are just taking the DJI name off stuff to try and get it through the US. But this one I seen wasn't, it'll come in, look, it's DJI. Look, they're calling that IMU. They had 04 on this. Did they have 04 or was it just goggles? I think it was goggles on this one. Yeah, they called them the original goggles N3. They're still labeled DJI on them. Yeah, look, retailers have been doing this on and off for years. They've done it forever. I have not seen what we had seen with the other DJI drones yet. Like we saw with those third-party brands. We haven't seen that. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I'm actually a little bit surprised from an FPV perspective DJI didn't wind up another brand. If I'm honest. They could have. But then again, there's probably not enough volume in it. It's Spectre. Yeah, that's one of them, but you can't buy it. That Spectre thing. I heard a rumor which was pretty much sold to me as these other brands you started to see that were DJI were not all models, and they were limited models, were basically a high-end person at DJI's retirement plan to sell some products under a different brand to fluff up his pension fund, and it got closed down pretty quickly. The only one that I know which was sanctioned was the green one, which was not the Spectre, the what was it called? I've even forgotten what he called it. I am shocked though that not Autel, Anzu, that was it. I couldn't think what it was. Anzu was, yeah. I am shocked that we haven't seen more of, like you'd happen with the computer industry, where you get these multiple brands appear. DJI seemed to have been a bit silly on that, I think, considering everything that was going on. But yeah, so look, DJI have these documents. They're talking about what the situation is, and we're now just having to wait and see. But right now, very little has changed. Everything is in quite short supply. Now, alongside this week, we have seen a whole host of leaks for upcoming DJI products. Now, let me just find it. We have some pretty big leaks this week, and someone's gone, most of the DJI is so big now, it's hard to keep things under wrap. The Osmo 360 absolutely looks like it is a thing. It is coming. There's even a price on it at that retailer. So it looks like it's already in shipping hands. It's going to have dual 1-inch sensors, 8K resolution. It's not particularly interesting, this product, if I'm honest. But it is quite cool to see DJI again try and stick it to Insta360, just like they've been sticking it to GoPro. Couldn't happen to a better person. We don't know. No, sorry, that wasn't American dollars. What was that? I might be Australian. We don't know what that is. But yeah, look, that's coming. DJI obviously have a new Mic 3 coming as well. There is also talk of this, and this is quite interesting because this looks like a DJI Action Mini, and this is what is being talked about. I actually have some better pictures of this on my Discord that I posted. Let me just find them. And what's interesting about this is that, let me open that in the browser. Here we go. This looks to be very much like the Thumb Pro style of camera. If I open up this other image, which gets in closer, it looks like this new mini camera is a lot like the Thumb Pro from Runcam. Now, I can't decide if I'm happy about this or not. And yes, that is small. Agreed. Insta360 clone. My worry is, how good is it gonna be? The great thing with the Action 2 size was they had space to make it good. My worry about this is, how good is this really going to be? And that's my... I'm not convinced this is going to be the camera we've all wanted. We've all wanted an Action 2 style with the Action 4 performance. If DJI could have crammed an Action 4 into the Action 2 styling, it would have been very, very good. No, they will make it in-house. It won't be rebranded. If DJI have done it, it's manufactured by DJI. No, look, I thought they were, but look. It doesn't. It looks like it's going to be this. That's it there. Sizing of that looks about that wide. It is obviously a lot like the Insta360 and the Beta FPV. So if we look at the Insta360 Go, it's very similar, isn't it? Come on, let's be honest. Maybe it's a tiny person. Yeah, you could have a point. It looks a lot more like the Run Cam to me. I'm a little worried about this. I was hoping... I guess the question is, if they could make it almost as good as the Action 2, better than the Action 2 from a sensor, imagine if this turns out to be a troll from DJI selling a case for the camera. Yeah. If it could be as good as the Action 2, say, but with better low light performance. Oh, look, low light performance isn't the issue on the Action 2. It's the bloody image AGC is terrible. If that can do 5.3K, it's a game changer. Yeah, it could be very, very cool. Definitely more Run Cam vibes to me than Insta360. O4 Pro camera with different hardware behind it. Maybe. But that would be good enough. For a lot of people. It depends the processing. The processing is the key. The sensor and processing. It is new though. It is new. There is lots of hints that DJI are going to come out. And look, there does seem to be something different in this image as well. Some bottom display to it. So it is looking very, very interesting. And there you've got the 360. There also appears to be an Action 6 coming as well. DJI seem to be on the full march. Full march. And there is talk of Neo 2 and Avata 3. The Avata 3 for me is very interesting because that basically tells me that DJI haven't sold it. It hasn't sold well. If they're replacing it already, that tells me it hasn't sold well at all. Neo 2 is definitely happening. Neo 2 is definitely happening. Hello, everyone. I doubt it'll have the O4 Pro cam. That's the Avata 2 territory. That doesn't make sense. Any luck for DJI FPV 2? That will never happen. I don't think DJI will ever... That is the replacement for the DJI FPV. Yeah, look, I think DJI will want to... Look, They probably want to push the camera a little bit further, a little bit better. I suspect they might add a little bit more technology to it. I even wonder if you're probably going to get a bit more smarts in it and it has better object sensing. Any news on 04 camera standalone? Unfortunately not. No. So, with DJI, look, it's tough times. It is tough times. It's not ideal right now for DJI products, and I wish I could say, how does DJI make their drones fly for so much time? Wait. Really simply, wait. Wait, and they sip power. Someone's asked about, I can't talk about future unreleased products. Lack of weight, yes. They're basically flying batteries. Yeah, you know, look, these are basically, you know, you take the battery off this, it weighs nothing. You can't build something that lightweight. That's the difference. It's that, you can't even break it. It just doesn't weigh anything. Can you run an 04 system on a plane yet? There's no reason you can't run 04 on a plane. Plastic molding is key. Yeah, absolutely. You know. Tuning as well. You can't rinse the throttle. Yeah. Helium-infused plastics. But yeah, just... They're fragile, though. You know, again, they're not freestyle drones. That's the difference. They are incredibly lightweight. Is there a way to have max power on 03 without a flight controller? No. Well, yes, you can use the Express ELRS mod. You don't actually have to use a flight controller. You can flash the Express ELRS firmware to auto arm 03. So if you get a $5 or $10 Express ELRS receiver, you can flash the custom build that allows you to flash. I think it might be even in public now, that you can flash it to enable 03 arming. Mavic 4, does it have issues? Seen issues of crashing? I've not seen enough that worries me. I had heard there were a few issues. ASA Aero printed, yeah, that will get you close. If DJI's banned from the US, I hope they will take remote ID off the original Avata. I don't like flying it connected to my goggles. Yeah, I can't predict what they would do. I do need to do a tutorial for that Express ELRS one. I actually never finished it. I did record it. You can just use the Express ELRS. You flash. Basically, you connect the receiver to the UARTs on 04. I've actually shown it on one of the live streams. You just flash a receiver, change the settings, and it's done. Would you be surprised if DJI released a firmware to make 04 compatible with version 2s? They will I don't ever see that happening. Ever, ever, ever. Would I be surprised? I would be incredibly surprised. There are some good reasons why the V2s will never be 04 compatible. Did I see a leak of the Insta360 drone? No. No, I missed this. Is this the Insta360 Sphere? No. The Neo isn't compatible with the Goggles 2 today either, so that's... The Neo already doesn't work with the Goggles 2. No, I've not seen this, so let's get on X and have a look. I've not seen it. They are a Chinese company, so... I have a... So, anyone... Who would have thought, DJ? So, we're talking about these ones here, are we? Okay. Interesting. That's very Mavic looking. Bit of a chunky thing. Very Neo looking. Interesting. That looks like a Mavic covered in tape, as someone has just said. Because look, it's got the front cameras at the bottom. That looks like something else. That doesn't look like a Neo. That's not a Neo. That's something else. That looks a lot like a Mini 3 or 4 from the back. That's DJI. Do you know, I wonder if they're testing cameras on drones. And they don't want you to see they're using DJI's drones for doing it. I wonder if this isn't them releasing a drone, and I wonder if this is them testing cameras on drones. And they're not cameras, they're not wanting to show it's a DJI product, because remember, they are a direct competitor. That, to me, I don't think that's their drone. I think that's a Mini Pro. I think that's a Mini 4 Pro. Well, maybe not. No, maybe not. I'm getting the cameras in the wrong place. If they were at the bottom, yeah, maybe not then. Interesting then. That, see, it's almost like it's upside down. Yeah, rear arms are low, front arms are high. No, I think they're no. Right, no, it's something else. It is absolutely something else. Yeah, no. E2S, maybe? Should we have a look? No, it's not got the lenses at the bottom. No, that's no. That's new. Let's have a look. Where is it? No. I'm wrong on that. I think it looks a lot like DJI drone. It's not an Autel. Yeah, no legs on the front either. Good point. That's interesting. That is interesting indeed. It's quite deep when you look at that as well, isn't it? When you look at that from there to there, there's some depth there. Okay. Mini-type motors, which, yeah, isn't particularly shocking. They've got a 360 camera on the top from the look of it. What's weird is that leaves to be covering the front. This looks more like the Hover Air type drone. This one. This looks more like one of these. The Hover Air Pro. Oh, bugger off. Bugger off. That feels a bit more like this design type than DJI. It's flatter, but again, interesting. Wow. Here's the problem. My understanding is Insta360 are a completely shitty company, and frankly, no one should go near them with a barge pole. So that's me out of the review of them in the future. However, I have to also be clear in saying that I have never dealt with Insta360. I have no personal experience dealing with Insta360. However, they absolutely tried to control reviews and reviewers, and it was highly publicized on YouTube and Twitter that they did this. For those who don't know, big channels came out against them. Big channels came out against them. Insta360 lie. I can't remember how. I can't remember. For starters, they lie about their cameras. I can tell you now. Hype you should not buy. And there were a number of big channels that came out and said Insta360. I know iPhone did. I can never spell his name. Undisclosed sponsorships. They were basically telling people like iPhone and others were dropping them because of their behavior. So I'll be honest, and I will say this again with DJI. DJI have many faults. However, when I worked with them, they were extremely fair at all times. They were always very fair. So if Insta do release a drone, I would be very cautious on the reviews. Interesting though, I did not know that. Does look big, that. That looks really big. My 360X5 is pretty awesome. Yeah, no, look, it looks new then. Anti-gravity. DJI is flooding YouTube with reviews so that it's very hard to unsponsored reviews. But DJI ones are fairly clear. DJI never ask people to make it undisclosed. Insta360 were. And the truth is, with the DJI product, we can sit here all day long and say DJI send loads of products out to review, but they always deliver. The truth is, DJI, when was the last time a DJI product actually released and everyone went, all the reviewers were lying? The truth is, it's genuinely always a very good product. It might have a few quirks, but in essence, it delivers. There's never a time where you sit here and go, all of that is BS. What I always say on a DJI review is this: look for what's not said, and not what is said. Because the most interesting things around a DJI review are often the things that people skip over, intentionally or not, but look for the gaps on the spec, because that's usually where you'll find the interesting data. Insta360 have some murky stuff. I think the cameras... Sorry, my throat. Some of the cameras have had issues, but they're not terrible. Look, I think anyone new to the drone scene, the camera drone scene, is good. What's going to be interesting is there are Chinese companies, so whether this helps anything, I don't know. Would be very interesting to see how they've been treated from a US perspective. How big does that look on his... That looks fairly chunky on his... Even that is quite big as well, isn't it? Right, before I move on, I just want to quickly deal with the super chats, because we've had two. Macron 11.99, thank you, my friend. That is incredible. I massively appreciate it. That's amazing. Thank you, my friend. Northern Tier FPV, $5. Thank you, my friend. Hi, Ian. Can I swap FPV motion controllers with my Neo, or is it limited to 5 changes? No, you can. Right, it'll only limit you to 5 changes if it's not bound to it. If you're using key refresh. If it is bound to it, you might get the limitation of 5 swaps. But you can always rebind the key refresh. Small person, large drink. Interesting. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. Right, next we're going to quickly move on. Well, this isn't a quick subject. We're going to move on to this. So, HDZero this week released their new Halo ESC. I'm going to go to the overhead for this just to show you it quickly. So, obviously, the Halo is now out. If you haven't seen it, HDZero have released their own ESC to go with their Halo flight controller. My camera will sort itself out in a second or two. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. This is the BL Heli 32 version, and yes, there is a BL Heli 32 version, and I'm going to come on to this subject in a minute. But it's a 25 by 5 by 25 by 5 ESC, has full castellated pads all the way around, very beefed up, very nice to see, ideally paired with the HDZero Halo flight controller. 70 amps max, but they have tested it above that, and Carl has put some great footage together, which I showed in the video. And again, it's really great to see that it is out now. It's 20 by 20, 20 by 20, not 25 by 25. Sorry, you are correct. 20 by 20, not 25 by 25. Sorry, I was thinking of the AIO5. I had the AIO5 in my head as I was saying it. Because I was used to having that board. 20 by 20. And it is very nice indeed. Really good to see. No complaints from a hardware perspective. They do have this daughter board situation, going on, which is quite cool. It's available in AM32, which is the version I advise you buy, or it is also available in the BL Heli 32. Now, that BL Heli 32, I'm going to move that can out of the way because that's annoying me. Now, that BL Heli 32 version is 32.10. Now, people have sort of said, how is that available? We didn't think that was out. And this is where things get interesting. Now, I have had quite a few chats with Carl on this, and I just want to be clear. This is shipped with what appears to be fully legitimate BL Heli 32 32.10. It is not using the test activator. It is not using a test version. It is the full, it appears to be fully legitimate BL Heli 32. Now, I have spoke to Carl on this extensively, and the information that Carl has given me is he is buying the microcontrollers pre-flashed with BL Heli 32. All of the information he has from his supplier is that it is fully legitimate. I have, though, been told something slightly different on the grapevine. And the problem with the grapevine is what I'm about to say isn't confirmed. What I'm about to say has no impact on Carl or HDZero because I know Carl is as interested in anyone in this. And as I said, he said to me straight that he believes he is buying fully legitimate microcontrollers pre-flashed with BL Heli 32. That's what he is paying for. That's what his supplier is telling him. That's all he can do to check because that's where he's at. However, the news that I've heard on the grapevine is that it is believed that someone has fully reversed BL Heli 32 and is now selling MCUs with custom targets with it flashed. I'm not going to name the person's name. The information that I was given is that that was not fully legitimate and not sanctioned by BL Heli AS. Now, I can't confirm that. The only way we will know is if BL Heli AS, as a business who stated last year that they ceased trading, say either way. They say, yes, it's legitimate, we're selling it, or no, it isn't. They are the only ones who can really tell us now. So, as far as I'm concerned, all of the evidence I have is that it's legitimate. And that evidence is it works with the BL Heli 32 public configurator. It doesn't say it is a test version. It does. I said it's back available. I didn't say we knew for sure last week because I said we don't know. But the information I've been shared this week is that it is a reversed version. However, I can't confirm. As far as I can tell, it's legitimate, and that's all I can say. Unless BL Heli AS, the business, comes out and says, no, we are not doing this, all we can do is assume it is legitimate. Because we have no other choice. We don't know. At the end of the day, it is their IP. It is their job to defend that IP if it is being used illegitimately. Now, I know for a fact Carl wants to be and believes he's using legitimate software, and I stand by that message that he gave me, and that's why I was happy to review it. It isn't that he's trying to do anything under, in the thing. And really now it comes down to BL ES to say what the situation is. Because unless Stefan doesn't come out and tell us, we don't know. And that's the truth. So, when I said it's back, yes, it's back. BL 32 is back. It is available in 32.10 in this ESC. What we don't know is the source of that and the true nature of that. And all we can do is assume it's legit until someone tells us it isn't. Now, as for are we going to see this turn up on other ESCs, I don't know. If the fact that you've seen it turn up here tells me you're likely going to see it turn up elsewhere, there is apparently a person... the servers are still down. It's pretty clear it's not legit. Not necessarily, because you can change your business model. BL Heli could have moved from a business model of not selling software to end users, or businesses, but sell software to companies selling microcontrollers direct. Look, there is nothing to say this isn't a shift in how they want to distribute BL Heli 32 moving forward. The servers being down isn't... It would be weird not to announce it, though. I don't know so much. If you were trying to keep under the radar, this is sort of how I would do it, if I'm honest. If I was trying to get it back out there, but without it causing a lot of noise, this could be how you did it. We can watch the company's profits. You can configure it. Firmware updates are never a given on any product. Just because there are no updates online doesn't mean it's not legit. You can fully configure it with the official BL Heli 32 configurator, not the test version, the official BL Heli 32 configurator. It is fully configurable, just like every BL Heli 32 ESC was. So, look, and that's why it does look legitimate. As long as it's not the TMU version. You know, everything we'd seen up until now had been using test versions, mostly with the test configurator. This is different. This is using the official configurator, not the test configurator. And a lot of the others weren't 32.10. They were 31.9. Because that's the real hint. The test versions were 31, not 32. So if you went and got like the... if you want like the Sequoia one, that was running 31.9 or 31.10. Yeah, Tarquay FPV, it's a point. Maybe they now only sell non-upgradable ESCs. Maybe they are only selling the you know, they're not selling firmware to companies making ESCs. They might now be selling firmware to manufacturers of microcontrollers who sell those microcontrollers. Look, their situation was complex. We don't know. Unless they come out and tell us, we don't know. And that's the issue. So the last official version is 32.10, which this is shipping with. Yes, there were 32.9s. Have I heard anything from Holly, bro? I haven't heard anything. But, so we've just got to wait and see. You'll notice legit if it ever moves on from 32.10. Look, they may never release an updated version again. The truth is, unless FLyAS make a statement, we won't know. That's the truth of it. We just won't know. So, that's the situation. HDZero ESC. Very nice to see. 8S compatible as well. Not really. I believe it just asked any known bugs in 32.10 that would need to be updated. Not really. 32.10 was solid. It actually had the final few big fixes in it. Yeah, look, if it's reversed, it's reversed, isn't it? You know, someone's... We just don't know. The truth is, we just don't know. Right, just to catch up on a super chat, 10 euros. Thank you. Hi, Ian. I've now got F5 Vision 2X, but I want to upgrade. Oh, let me just. I've lost the rest of the chat. I want to upgrade the frame for freestyle and some cinematic flying. I also prefer SMA's antenna for DJI. Easier to replace if they break. Any suggestions for both? So, wait, I have a Nazgul F5 Vision 2X, but I want to upgrade the frame for freestyle. There is nothing wrong with a Nazgul F5 for freestyle. And some cinematic flying. I also prefer SMA ants for DJI, easier to replace. Any suggestions for both? Nazgul's a great frame. I'm not sure what you're going to replace the Nazgul with that's going to be better. The Nazgul is a phenomenal frame. It's like one of the best things. The thing is just too tight. Right. Well, if you want more space, look at the AOS series from Chris Rosser. If you want more space, look at the AOS 5 or the 5.5. The 5.5 might be a better fit for you. AOS 5 or 5.5. They are narrow frames, the Nazguls. AOS 5 is a phenomenally good frame, and it's a very wide frame as well, so you can get a lot in it. So AOS 5 would be my next choice. Sorry, I'm just looking at my Nazgul versus another couple of frames. I guess the only one you could look at is the Speedy Bee. It's a bit bigger, but I think the Speedy Bee Mario 5, maybe. The new AOS is a great frame. The AOS 5.5 is a great frame. I've put mine in a field quite hard a few times and it survived fine. The new AOS frames are very good. I always find Chris's website a bit hard to navigate, if I'm honest. Freestyle Designs. I also think Chris has got too many freaking frames now as well, if I'm honest with you. Because you got the AOS UL5X, AOS 5 Vision 5. Era is a tight frame. Look, the Era is, if you're saying the Nazgul's too small, the Era is way too small. The reason I haven't mentioned the Era or the Mike X frame, which are two amazing frames, is if the Nazgul's small, you're boned on them. They're way smaller frames. So if we're talking a frame with more space, I think it's the AOS for me. If you want a frame with more space. Not really used quad muller frames. Don't really know much about them. AOS 5 Vision 5. Because the Nazgul isn't a small frame in itself. But yeah, I'd go with the AOS 5 Vision 5 if I was, you want a bit more space. Hello, Andy. I'm not aware of it, but I will check it. The last update for Goggles 2 fixed the 04 issues. Wait a minute, am I missing something? Did DJ add it in that update? Okay, let me check. I can't remember. That's a point. I can't remember. But AOS, if you want a bigger frame than the Nazgul, the AOS. If you want a bigger frame than the Nazgul. If you want a smaller frame, that is Andy RC. I keep him in a little box. You see, what happens is, Andy's not allowed out anymore. He lives in a little box. I keep him in the corner of the channel, right? And every now and again, I open the door and let him out. And he's allowed to post online. And he's allowed to make the odd video. And then I'm locking back in the box. And I put him back in the dungeon. And that's where he stays. No. So, yes. Yeah, Andy's only allowed out at certain times. So, yeah, look, that's my advice on that. Antennas, pretty much choose what you want. The bad side of me never saying stuff the world is ready for. So, okay, last things we're going to talk about is FLyWoo. FLyWoo care package turned up this week. Where is it? Finally, the FLyWoo stuff. Now, I have to be clear, FLyWoo have sent me this for free. I have not paid for this. However, as always, my thoughts will be entirely my own. They have sent me the FLyWoo lens kits, and they have confused the buggery out of me today as well. So they have sent me the ones for, well, they say 04 on both boxes, right? And one of them is 03. So that's for the 04 Pro. That's for 03, even though it says 04 on the front. So these are the wide angle lens kits. 03 is interesting, but not as interesting as 04 Pro. Again, less interesting than... Oh, yeah, it's the other way around. Less interesting is than this one, because this is the one for the light. Because that is the one we're all interested in. Now, this kit comes with the ND filters, and we have the lens filter itself. Just going to come in. Whoop. There you go. Now, this is all 3D printed. Something I will say is I think FLyWoo should do a bit of a better job of telling people you're buying 3D printed product. I don't have a problem with 3D printed product. I do a lot of 3D printing, but I do think they should tell people a little bit differently. They are not all for the light. They are different. That is not for the light. This has a back mounting. I don't think that's for the light, is it? Is that for the light as well? Are they all for the light? They just make it... Oh, right. Okay, I'm confused. But this is the one that mounts directly to the light. I haven't looked properly yet. They literally came in. Now, you will need a lens adapter, and they have sent me their new Firefly quad to take a look at, which I'm going to be using actually to demonstrate these. This is the new 04 Firefly. And you do need this little adapter for the camera before you fit it. But obviously the idea is that you pop this cover over onto it, and then that gives us the wide angle lens. Now, weight wise, let's just weigh it before we get into it in the review. Let me get my white powder scales out. Let's have a look. Okay, that is fine. So 3.64 grams. 6.4, 6.5. Close enough. Fitment is really easy. You just pop it over the top. And then that gives us that 155-degree field of view. Very cool. Very, very cool, to be fair. I'm looking forward to testing this out. This is their new 1S quad. Such a small quad. The Firefly 16 1S DJI 04. Really cool. Really cool little quad. If we check the weight of the quad out, (37.82 grams). Yes, the props are missing. You've got to add a bit more for the props. But that's pretty good. Pretty good indeed. Very nice build too. I have to say, the build of these little quads is really nice. Very clean. Very tidy. Obviously, the only ones doing it lighter than this is HDZero. If you take that HDZero quad I reviewed, that Modular 7, let me just find it. The HDZero, where's that vanish to? Why isn't it where it should be? It should have been there, is where it should have been. That's not the right box. Where is the right box gone for the HD? Oh, I wonder if it's in my car. Actually, I wonder if it's in my car. It must be in the back of my car. Very nicely designed. Very nicely designed indeed. I have to say, they've done a nice job of putting this quad together. I love the colour of this TPU as well. Very nicely done. So I'm going to be playing with this in the next week. Like the location of the USB. Yeah, so if we go around, you've got your micro USB underneath there. Motor cables are nicely done. Really nicely put together. I wish I had the HDZero one here to compare to. Where is that? Must be in my car. That must be in my car. Because that's a great little quad as well. Yes, it's heavy for 1S. Look, there's no getting away from that. They recommend the 1S 1000 milliamp hour batteries that they've sent me because of its size. So it's a bigger 1S. This isn't tiny whoop, that's for sure. But these are the 1000 milliamp hour packs. Yeah, they do a 2S version as well. Quite a big battery, that. But I'm looking forward to having a play. Very nice little quad. They do make 2S versions too of it. For 04, yeah, probably. It'll be interesting to see how the power is on this compared to the HDZero that's 2S. Because that HDZero 2S is a great little quad. It'd be interesting to see how much power it's got. That's for sure. The board is rated for 2S. Someone just said, just not the motors. Interestingly, yeah, it's got the... I'm trying to read what that says on it for the motors. Let's have a look on the overhead, because that is... Right, let's see what the motors say. So the motors... Whoa. Is that 23500 kV? 2300? Two 3500 kV. Hello, UAV Features. No, I haven't seen the goggle. I haven't seen it myself. Yeah, 23500 kV. A screamer, yeah. No, I haven't seen them in real world, Stu. I haven't really even seen a proper video of them. I don't know if someone got them. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool indeed. I think 2S on this weight as well I'd like to have seen. But there is a 2S version. So you can get this in a 2S as well. So when you go to FLyWoo's website, they do have the Firefly. I'm sure I saw a 2S version of this. I am 99% I saw a 2S version. I thought I did. Perhaps I didn't. I thought I saw a 2S version. Now I'm not seeing it. Oh yeah, that's still 1S. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. I was looking at that. That's still 1S. No, I thought there was a 2S. I might be confused. I thought the bigger version was 2S. Because this is the... What's this? So this is the 16 and there's the 18. I thought the 18 was 2S, but it doesn't look like it. Sorry, I got that wrong. Yeah, no, they're all 1S's. Ah, there's a 2S old version. Now, obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing how the lens holds up and how it behaves, so I will be talking about that in the near future. They also have a couple of new chargers as well, which I gotta show you too, which I haven't looked at yet. So, that is it from tonight's stream. I wish there was more news I could share with you on DJI. There isn't. It's pretty much still bad news. Hopefully it will get sorted out soon. I wish I could say more than that positively. Anyways, on that bombshell, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has given super chats tonight. Thank you for that. Before I go, please do check out the links to my Patreon. I want to say a massive thank you to all of my Patreons. Now more than ever, the support is grateful, especially with the lack of content. If you'd like to support us, please do consider checking it out. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and we'll be back again, same time, same place next week. Speak to you soon.